The stars above orbital station Aurelius shimmered like cold diamonds. From a distance, the station looked peaceful, just another trade hub floating near the galactic core. But peace was an illusion here. Hidden within its metal corridors and cargo bays were secrets that could change the future of the galaxy. Captain Lyra Miles stood in the command deck of her cruiser, the Horizon Edge. Her brown eyes scanned the holographic map hovering in front of her. 3 Dominion cargo ships were approaching the station, each protected by a Varn escort cruiser. They were heavily armed, but their route was predictable. "Begin silent approach," Lyra ordered. Her voice was calm but firm. Her crew moved quickly. They were trained for stealth. As the ship glided through the darkness, lights dimmed across the deck. The hum of the engine softened. Lyra had spent years preparing for this. The Dominion, an ancient alien empire, had ruled the galaxy for centuries. Earth had once been beneath their notice, just another planet in a long list of conquered systems. But Earth had changed. They had rebuilt, rearmed, and remembered what freedom felt like. Now, they wanted it back. This mission was more than a strike. It was a message. "Targets in range," said Lieutenant Core, a young pilot with sharp features and steady hands. "Fire on my mark," Lyra said. She waited, watching the enemy ships move into position. Mark. Laser cannons lit up the darkness. A brilliant stream of red and blue firepower slammed into the Dominion cruiser. One of the cargo ships exploded in a ball of flame, scattering debris into the void. Alarms echoed across the enemy fleet. The Dominion fought back. Their escorts returned fire, and the space around Aurelius lit up like a storm. But the Horizon Edge moved fast, dodging blasts and weaving between the chaos. Lyra stood tall. "Target the second cargo hold. Disable it. We need that data intact." Minutes later, a boarding team landed on the damaged cargo ship. Marines stormed the interior. Lyra watched from her screen as they fought through resistance and reached the command terminal. The Dominion captain, a reptilian Varn with silver armor, was already dead, throat slit by one of Lyra's soldiers. "Captain, we found something," the Marine reported. "Encrypted file, marked Nexus Protocol. Looks big." Lyra narrowed her eyes. "Download everything. Then get out." The Marine nodded. "Yes, ma'am." The team returned just as Dominion reinforcements arrived. The second Varn cruiser launched fighters. Lyra gave the order to retreat. Back aboard the Horizon Edge, Lyra studied the data. Lines of alien code scrolled across the screen. Earth's top analyst would need time to decode it, but one word kept appearing in the Dominion's internal files: Nexus Core. She tapped her comm commander Rin. "Notify Earth Command. Tell them we have something. Possibly a Dominion weapon or something bigger." Rin's voice crackled back. "Understood, Captain. But we've got a problem. Our location was too easily tracked. Someone tipped them off." Lyra paused. Her jaw tightened. "You think we have a leak?" "I'm saying it's possible." She looked back at the stars. The Varn had known. That much was clear. Someone was feeding them information, and it wasn't just random luck. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment. Then she turned back to the command console. The mission was a success, but it had raised more questions than answers. What was the Nexus Core? Why was it hidden? And why did the Dominion fear someone finding it? The answers would have to wait. "Set course for Earth," she said, "and keep the ship cloaked. No more surprises." As the stars shifted outside the viewport and the ship jumped into lightspeed, Lyra knew one thing. This was only the beginning. The skies over Earth's capital were cloudy when Captain Lyra Miles returned. Towering spires of metal and glass stretched across the horizon. Airships moved silently between levels, and holographic banners projected Earth's new symbol, a phoenix rising from a shattered world. It was a reminder that Earth had not only survived but was ready to fight back. Lyra walked through the long corridor of the Earth Defense Command, her boots echoing on the steel floor. Soldiers saluted her as she passed. Some whispered her name. She was already a symbol of resistance, quiet, steady, and unshaken. Inside the war room, Admiral Sloan stood with his arms crossed, studying the data from Lyra's last mission. He was tall and thin, his face lined with age and pressure. A council of generals and science officers sat around the table, their expressions tense. Lyra placed a holodrive on the table. "This is what we recovered from the Dominion cargo ship. It contains multiple files referencing something called the Nexus Core." The lights dimmed, and the projection came to life. Alien symbols floated above the table, some half-decoded, others completely unreadable. But one phrase, translated by Earth's top cryptographers, flashed in red. "Nexus Core location, classified, Varno level black." The room went silent. What is it? Sloan asked. A device, possibly ancient. It's not a weapon in the traditional sense, Lyra said. More like a control system. Gravity manipulation. Instant communication. If the Dominion really built this, it could explain how they've stayed in power for centuries. One of the scientists leaned forward. Or maybe they didn't build it at all. Maybe they found it. Sloan looked at Lyra. And you want to find it before they do? They already have it, Lyra replied. They're just hiding it. But the files point to someone who once worked on the project, a human-Varn hybrid named Dr. Naravex. She vanished 50 years ago. She's dead, one general said. No, Lyra answered. She's in hiding. And we found a trail. The trail led them to a forgotten planet, Epsilon Drift. A frozen, lifeless rock outside the Dominion's patrol zones. No colonies, no satellites, just a name buried deep in Dominion records. According to the stolen files, Naravex had built a research lab there, off the grid. Lyra's team prepared for departure. Her crew included Commander Rin, her trusted second-in-command, Samari, a tech expert, and Ava Quinn, a quiet but deadly field agent. As they boarded the horizon edge once again, none of them knew what they'd find on that planet. The journey to Epsilon Drift took 2 days. When they arrived, the planet hung in space like a dying eye. Its surface was dark gray and cracked by old impact scars. Thin clouds of dust floated over its surface. No signals, no signs of life. Scan for artificial structures, Lyra ordered. Found one, Samari said. Deep under the surface. Shielded. Looks like an old Dominion research lab, same tech signature. They landed carefully, using the ship's ground scanners to map a safe route. Wearing pressure suits, the team entered a narrow cave leading to the underground lab. The entrance was hidden by layers of rock and snow, untouched for decades. Inside, the air was stale. The lights flickered on as they walked, reacting to their motion. Walls were lined with cracked screens and faded Dominion symbols. A central console blinked weakly in the main chamber. This place is dead, Rin muttered. Then why is the power still running? Ava asked quietly. Lyra approached the console. Bring it online. Samari worked quickly, tapping on a portable interface. The console flared to life, and a hologram appeared, an image of Dr. Naravex. She had dark skin, silver eyes, and Varn markings on her forehead. Her voice was soft, but clear. If you're seeing this, then you've found the truth. The Nexus core is real, and it must never return to Dominion hands. The message continued. Nara explained how she had helped design the core long ago, thinking it would unite the galaxy. But the Dominion twisted it, using its tech to suppress rebellion and control space itself. So she fled, hiding the key pieces across the galaxy. Lyra clenched her fists. This wasn't just technology. It was history rewritten. We need her coordinates, she said. Anything that can lead us to the core. Before Samari could respond, alarms screamed through the lab. We've got company, Rin shouted. Dominion fighters approaching fast. Someone tracked us. Lyra turned. Everyone out. Grab what we can. They downloaded the rest of the data as Dominion soldiers landed near the cave. A firefight broke out in the narrow tunnels. Blaster fire lit the dark stone walls. Lyra's team moved fast, covering each other, returning fire. 2 enemy soldiers fell. But one of their own, Private Yalin, took a shot to the chest. We can't carry him, Ava said. I'll cover the rear. Lyra snapped. Move. They escaped to the ship, barely ahead of the enemy. As the ramp closed, Lyra looked back once, just once, and saw the lab collapse behind them. As the horizon edge launched into the sky, leaving Epsilon Drift behind, Lyra stood at the viewport. They had a lead. They had a name. And now, they had a new mission. But the Dominion knew they were coming. The sky above the colony on Luna, 7 turned crimson as Dominion gravity bombs tore through its protective shield. Buildings shattered. Fires raged across the domed city. Families ran, screaming, as the air grew thin and cold. It wasn't a battle. It was a warning. Earth received the transmission 30 minutes after the attack began. The footage showed everything, collapsing structures, Varn troops walking through smoke, and the Dominion symbol raised high above the ruins. Over 30,000 human lives lost in 1 hour. Captain Lyra Miles watched the video in silence. Her fists were clenched at her sides. The images played again and again in her mind. Smoke. Screams. Children. This is their answer, she said, standing in the middle of the Horizon Edge's war room. We found the truth, and they gave us this. Commander Rin stood nearby, his face grim. They're not just sending a message to us. They're trying to scare the rest of the galaxy. Lyra nodded. And they're succeeding. Colonies are falling back. Some are talking about surrender. They're afraid. Good, Lyra said, her voice hard. But fear isn't loyalty. It can turn. Later that night, in the ship's observation deck, Lyra sat alone. The stars were quiet. But her mind wasn't. She remembered her parents killed when she was young during another Dominion attack. Back then, she'd been powerless. Small. Helpless. But not anymore. Now, she had a crew. A ship. A mission. Samari walked in, carrying a data pad. I finished decrypting the files we recovered from Epsilon Drift. Lyra looked up. What did you find? Samari pulled up a star chart. Naravex left behind a trail. Hidden coordinates, masked in old transport logs. She wanted someone to follow them. Someone like us. The data pointed to a remote Dominion outpost called Red Halo, deep in Varn territory. It wasn't a major base, just a forgotten space station orbiting a black star. But it had something the Dominion wanted to forget, a memory vault. Dominion keeps classified projects in those vaults, Samari explained. They erase history they don't want remembered. Then it's the perfect place to hide the truth, Lyra said. Set a course. The journey to Red Halo was dangerous. They had to pass through disputed space, dodging patrols, and avoiding Dominion signal traps. But the horizon edge was fast, and Lyra's crew knew how to stay hidden. As they neared the black star, the crew began to feel the strange pull of its gravity. Lights flickered. Sensors glitched. Even time seemed to slow. There it is, Ava said, pointing at the screen. Red Halo floated in the darkness, an old, rusted ring station barely clinging to orbit. Its lights were dim. No signs of life. But the memory vault was still active. Lyra led the infiltration team herself. They boarded using stealth thrusters, cutting through a sealed hatch and entering the abandoned corridors. Inside, the station was quiet, just hung in the air. The walls were scarred from old battles, and graffiti in multiple languages covered the bulkheads. Most of it said the same thing: run while you still can. They reached the vault chamber without resistance. Samari began hacking the controls, bypassing Dominion locks. I've got it, he said. There's a video log from Naravex, dated 51 years ago. The hologram flickered on. If you've come this far, you understand what's at stake. The Nexus core is not just a machine. It's a bridge, a gate to control gravity, time, even thought. The Dominion used it to bind systems, to silence revolts before they began. But they never understood it fully. Not even I did. The core is hidden in a dying star, sealed inside a shielded temple built by the first ones. Only those who know the code can reach it. And now, that code is yours. The hologram ended. Coordinates appeared on the screen, near the edge of the galaxy. Lyra stared at the map. It was farther than she had ever traveled. Unknown space. No allies. No backup. But it was the only way. Suddenly, the station alarms howled. Dominion cruiser just dropped out of warp. Rin's voice shouted over the comm, they found us. We're out of time. Lyra shouted. Everyone, fall back. Blaster fire echoed down the halls as Varn soldiers boarded the station. Lyra's team returned fire, retreating step by step. Samari was hit in the leg but kept moving. Ava covered their rear, taking down 2 enemies with precise shots. Back on the horizon edge, the crew launched into emergency warp, narrowly escaping the Dominion's grasp. The Black Star faded behind them. Lyra stood on the bridge, breathing hard. We have the location of the core. We're running out of time. The Dominion will send everything they have now. Rin nodded. Then we'd better get there first. The galaxy was shifting. Blood had already been spilled. But now, they had the map to something far greater. A chance to change everything. The star was dying. It pulsed weakly in the blackness, a red dwarf on the verge of collapse. Its light barely reached the edge of the system, where a lone structure orbited in silence, an ancient space temple of smooth black stone and strange geometry. It was not Varn-built. It was far older. The horizon edge slowed as it approached. The engines hummed quietly, adjusted for the gravitational distortions surrounding the star. The crew stood ready on the bridge, every eye fixed on the screen. Captain Lyra Miles studied the structure with narrowed eyes. That's it, she said. The Nexus core is in there. Commander Rin stepped beside her. Scanners can't read through the walls. No energy readings. It's like it's hiding from the galaxy. That's the point, Lyra said. It was never meant to be found by the wrong hands. Ava entered the room, weapons check complete. No sign of Dominion ships yet. But they're coming. Lyra nodded. Then we move now. The temple had no visible entrance, only a smooth shell with glowing symbols that pulsed when the crew approached. As Lyra stepped closer, The symbols shifted, responding to her presence. They were the same symbols found in Naravek's files. "It's reading her," Salmari said through the comms. He was still aboard the ship, guiding them remotely. "It's tied to Earth's genetic markers, just like Nara designed it. The Dominion couldn't open this even if they tried." The surface cracked open silently. A pathway lit up ahead. Cold blue light spilled into the void. Lyra, Rin, and Ava entered slowly. The inside of the temple was vast and hollow, but gravity felt steady. Walls stretched upward like cathedral towers, inscribed with alien patterns. As they walked, echoes of ancient whispers tickled their ears. None of them spoke. At the center of the temple floated the Nexus core. It was a black sphere, suspended in the air, wrapped in moving rings of white light. Energy flowed around it in slow waves. It didn't buzz or glow like modern machines, it simply existed, calm and constant, like a heart that had always been beating. Lyra stepped closer. The core responded to her presence, the rings speeding up. Symbols lit up in the air around her, stars, planets, timelines. Salmari's voice echoed in her earpiece. "It's not just a device. It's a control point for space. You could fold distance. You could send thoughts across light years. You could silence entire systems or free them." Ren looked at Lyra. "We could end the war. Right here." Ava shook her head. "Or start a worse one. What if it falls into Dominion hands?" Lyra knew the truth. Power like this didn't belong to anyone. Not Earth. Not the Varn. Not even her. But before she could act, a red alarm flashed on her wrist pad. "Incoming ships," Samari said. 3 Dominion warcruisers. Kirith's flagship is one of them. Outside, space cracked open as the Dominion fleet arrived. Lord Kirithval stood at the command deck of his warship, eyes glowing beneath his silver helm. "So the humans found it," he said calmly. "Good. Let them open the door for us." He gave the order. Fighters launched from the cruisers, streaking toward the temple like angry bees. Back inside, the walls of the temple shook. The Nexus core flared brightly. "They're trying to breach the structure," Samari said. "But it's reacting. It's waking up." The temple's systems powered on ancient defense protocols activating. Glowing shields covered the walls. A soft hum filled the air. Lyra turned to the core. "We don't have time. We use it, just enough to stop them." Rin hesitated. "Are you sure you can control it?" "No," she said. "But I have to try." She reached out. Her hand touched the energy surrounding the sphere. A surge of light burst through the chamber. For a moment, she saw everything. The Dominion's rise, the core's creation, Naravek's running through shadows, and the stars, endless and waiting. She thought clearly, not in words, but in truth. Let them see. Let the galaxy know the truth. The core responded. It sent a signal across space. Not a message. A memory. Every world connected to the old Dominion networks suddenly saw what Lyra saw. Images of oppression, hidden technology, lies the Varn had buried. They saw the experiments, the rewritten histories, the silenced systems. Kirith watched in horror as the broadcast took over his ship's screens. "No," he whispered. "Turn it off. Shut it down." But it was too late. The truth had already spread. Across the galaxy, planets began to rise. Varn citizens protested. Subjugated species took up arms. Outposts went silent, not out of fear, but defiance. Back in the temple, Lyra fell to her knees. The core dimmed again, returning to its resting state. Rin helped her stand. "What did you do?" "I let the galaxy see." Outside, the Dominion fleet began to retreat. Their command lines had shattered. Their people no longer obeyed. Kirith's flagship disappeared into warp, fleeing like a wounded animal. The war wasn't over, but everything had changed. The throne had cracked. Darkness wrapped around the Dominion capital, Varno Prime. What once stood as a symbol of power now trembled under the weight of silence. The palace's golden towers no longer glowed with pride. Streets that once echoed with obedience now whispered with unrest. Screens across the city replayed the memories sent by the Nexus core, truths the Varn had buried for generations. Citizens stood frozen, watching the lies of their empire unravel. In the palace war room, Lord Kirithval stood alone. His long silver cloak dragged across the floor, his back to the grand windows. His sharp, alien face was calm, but his fingers tapped rapidly against his side. 1,000 years of control were slipping through his claws. Behind him, a guard spoke carefully. "High Lord, systems across the outer sectors have gone dark." No communication. No orders followed. "Traitors," Kirith whispered. "They forget who gave them peace." The guard hesitated. "It's not just the outer sectors. Some of our own soldiers, they've removed the mark of loyalty." Kirith turned slowly, his eyes cold. Then removed them. The guard said nothing. His silence said enough. Kirith knew the truth. Fear no longer held the galaxy. Something had broken, and it began with Earth. On board the Horizon Edge, Captain Lyra Miles stood in the center of the bridge, watching the stars pass. Her crew sat in silence around her. The core had done what she hoped. It had awakened the galaxy. But with the truth now revealed, she knew Kirith wouldn't disappear quietly. A warning flashed on the ship's console. "Incoming transmission," Samari said. "It's Kirith." Lyra folded her arms. "Put him through." The screen came alive. Kirith's face filled it, stern, pale, and proud. "You've made your point, Captain," he said calmly. "You exposed our past. You've humiliated the throne. Are you satisfied?" "No," Lyra replied. "Not until the galaxy is free." Kirith smiled faintly. "You're brave, but foolish. Power is not erased by truth. You lit a fire, but fire burns both ways. Surrender the Nexus core. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to anyone," she said. "That's why we'll never let you touch it again." He leaned forward. "If you refuse, I will end Earth. Not just cities. Your entire planet. Your oceans, your sky. Gone." Lyra stared back. "You tried to control everything with fear. But now, even your own people are standing against you. Your throne is cracking. You can't hold it together." Kirith's voice turned colder. "Then I will burn what remains." The screen went black. Lyra turned to her crew. "He's coming. One last strike." Ren nodded. "Then we hit back." Hours later, the Dominion's final fleet arrived. It was larger than anything Earth had ever seen. Dozens of cruisers, dreadnoughts, and swarms of fighters. They came fast, weapons hot, ready to silence the rebellion at its heart. But Earth was ready. Not alone, this time, they had allies. Ships from liberated sectors, defected Dominion captains, and freedom fighters from distant systems had gathered under one banner. Together, they formed a fleet unlike anything before. The battle began above the ashes of Luna 7. Explosions painted the sky. Blaster fire carved through the darkness. Both sides lost ships, but Earth fought like never before. On the horizon edge, Lyra gave every order with precision. "Break their formation," she commanded. "Target Kirith's flagship. We end this now." The Nexus core, now sealed inside a protective vault, pulsed deep within the ship. Lyra refused to use it again. Truth had already done its work. Now it was time for action. As the two flagships closed in on each other, Lyra boarded a small strike shuttle. With Ava and Rome beside her, she flew straight into the heart of the enemy. They landed on Kirith's flagship in the middle of chaos. Fighting through halls of armored Varn soldiers, they pushed forward. Ava took out enemies with flawless aim. Rin covered the rear. Lyra moved with focus, clearing the path. Finally, they reached the throne room. Kirith stood alone at the top of the stairs. No guards. No generals. Only him, and the swirling view of space behind him. He looked tired. Not physically, but deep in his soul. "You came to see the end of me?" he asked. "No," Lyra said. "I came to end what you built." Kirith slowly descended the stairs. "You think tearing down power makes the galaxy better? Chaos will follow. Then we'll build something better," she said. "Not built on lies. Not ruled by fear." He paused, then smiled. "I almost envy your hope." They fought. Kirith moved like a shadow, using energy blades carved with old Varn symbols. Lyra dodged, countered, struck back. Her body ached, but her focus never wavered. This wasn't revenge. This was justice. After a brutal exchange, Lyra landed the final blow, driving her blade through Kirith's chest. He gasped, his silver eyes wide. "You were never meant to win," he whispered. Lyra stepped back. "No, we were meant to be free." Kirith collapsed. Outside, the Dominion fleet shattered. With their leader gone, many surrendered. Others fled. The rest were destroyed in the firestorm of battle. Victory didn't feel like a celebration. It felt like silence. Heavy. Real. Lyra returned to the horizon edge. She walked to the chamber where the Nexus core rested. She placed her hand on the glass and spoke softly. "Your time is over. We don't need you to lead us. We'll lead ourselves." She gave the order to lock it, deep within a vault that only Earth's United Council could access. Not as a weapon, not as a prize, but as a reminder. Freedom wasn't found in power. It was earned. The war was over. News spread fast across the stars. The Dominion was finished. Kirithval, the emperor who had ruled with fear for more than a century, was dead. His fleet scattered. His empire broken. The Varn capital, Varno Prime, now stood open, no longer guarded, no longer feared. Worlds that had been silent for generations now sang with freedom. On Earth, the skies were clear. People gathered in cities, in small towns, in spaceports and domes, watching the broadcasts. Some cried. Some stood in quiet disbelief. Others simply looked up, as if seeing the stars for the first time. The horizon edge hovered in low orbit, its silver hull scorched and scarred from the final battle. Inside, Captain Lyra Miles sat alone in the observation deck, her gaze fixed on the blue curve of Earth below. It looked peaceful again. Alive. Commander Wren entered quietly, carrying 2 steaming mugs of tea. He handed her one and sat down. "They're holding the first Interplanetary Council meeting tomorrow," he said. "Earth, the Martian Alliance, the freed colonies, even some of the Varn representatives." Lyra nodded. "That's good. It's time people spoke for themselves. They want you to be there. Maybe even lead." She looked at him. "I didn't do this to take a throne, Wren. That's not who we are." "I know. But people listen to you." Lyra sipped her tea. "Let them. I'll speak if needed. But I won't become what we just destroyed." He nodded in quiet agreement. Outside, repair ships moved around the horizon edge. Some were Earth-built. Others belonged to species Earth had only met during the war. No one barked orders. No one claimed command. They worked together, free at last from the shadow of the Dominion. Later that day, Lyra visited the memorial site on Earth's surface. A new monument had been raised near the ruins of Luna 7's lost colony. It was simple, just a curved wall of dark metal engraved with thousands of names. Soldiers, civilians, defectors, rebels, scientists, people who had died for the chance at something better. Lyra walked the path in silence. Ava and Samari joined her, saying nothing. They stopped at the name of Private Yalin, who had fallen during the escape from Epsilon Drift. Lyra placed her hand on the engraving, eyes closed. "I wish they could see this," she said. "They do," Ava replied quietly. They stood together a while longer, watching as families gathered. Flowers were laid, and silence was shared. That evening, as the sun set over Earth's horizon, Lyra stood before a small crowd at the Unity Assembly Dome. Leaders and citizens from dozens of planets sat before her, some with eyes, others with antennae or glowing faces. Species once separated by fear and silence now met without weapons. Lyra stepped up to the platform. She wore no medals, no uniform, just a simple black jacket and her Earth emblem. She cleared her throat. "We are here today not because we won a war," she said. "We are here because we remembered who we are. We remembered that freedom isn't given, it's taken back. And when truth speaks loud enough, fear runs." She looked across the crowd. The Dominion thought the galaxy would never change. That power would always stay in the same hands. But they were wrong. A pause. She let the silence hold meaning. "We didn't fight to build a new throne. We fought to break it. So no one would ever sit above others again. Today, we begin something new. Together." The crowd rose. There was no cheering, only the sound of hands clapping, wings fluttering, tentacles tapping. It was enough. It was real. Back on the horizon edge, as night spread across Earth once more, Lyra returned to the command deck. The stars stretched wide ahead. Salmari looked up from a console. "So, what now?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Now? We explore. We help rebuild. We go where we're needed." Wren chuckled. "And here I thought we'd get to rest." "You will," she said. "Eventually." As the ship lifted into the stars once more, Lyra felt no fear. No weight of command. Only peace and purpose. The galaxy was still wounded, still wild, but no longer silent. The throne had fallen. A new light had risen.